What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. The Dallas Cowboys have come to agreement with wide receiver Amari Cooper. The deal is worth 5 years, $100 million for the free agent wide receiver. So they've got a deal done with the number one receiver, Amari Cooper. Now, as you know, they made a deal for Amari Cooper about a year and a half ago to pry him away from the Oakland Raiders, and they gave up a first-round pick. And it was widely assumed that once they made that deal that they would be signing him to a contract extension. But that never came to fruition. And a year and a half later, Amari Cooper became a free agent as they put their franchise tag on quarterback Dak Prescott, and that which allowed wide receiver Amari Cooper to become a free agent. The Washington Redskins was another team that was on the pursuit for Amari Cooper. They were in the running, and they offered a real good deal to bring in Amari Cooper. I think the overall contract that the Redskins were offering was slightly above the Cowboys' offer, but with the no state income tax in Texas and the city of Dallas, that the numbers were pretty much negligible with the Cowboys and the Redskins when you consider that again in the state of Texas you pay no state income tax. So that was that along with his desire to remain Dallas Cowboys. He said that throughout this past season that he wanted to retire a Cowboy, and that wasn't just whistling in the dark on Amari Cooper's behalf. He was really sincere in those words, and he held true to what he said, and he signed with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Amari Cooper, to me, is a top 10 wide receiver. I don't think he's in the top 5. I don't put him up there with a Julio Jones or, wide receivers of that caliber, Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, wide receivers on that level. But I think he's definitely a top 10 quarterback, man. The guy's got the rare combination of a speed, and he's a great route runner. Quiet guy, not the classic diva receivers as you've seen with Antonio Brown and OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., quarterbacks that always seem like get the headlines in the news of the NFL. He's not like that. He's a very quiet guy. But to me, man, I think his main step that he needs to take, because he definitely got top 5 or top 3 wide receiver talent. But I think he's like top 10. He kind of reminds me, he's almost like the Vince Carter of the wide receiver. A guy that had the talent and the ability to be one of the best to ever play that game, but didn't quite have that drive and that dog mentality to get him over the hump, to be on the level of a Kobe Bryant or Dwayne Wade, guys of that caliber, man. That's the reason why Vince Carter, which talent-wise can measure up to those guys, but his career fell short of those two guys. Those two guys had the it factor. Like I said, they had the drive, the dog, being a rough ride on the court, a guy that was a killer, and a guy that was a bulldog out there on the court, man. That's one thing maybe that's just, that's what is in his DNA. Maybe he's just not going to never be that type of guy to be that killer on the field, man. But to me, man, a lot of games he kind of disappeared, especially when he went against the elite level cornerbacks. He disappeared, man. He's going to have to be able to step up and not only have good games against the number 2 and number 3 cornerbacks, but have good games against the number 1 cornerbacks. When he went against New England, that game there, he disappeared. He disappeared in the other games when he was going against top-level cornerbacks. He was going against Buffalo Bills. They had a Pro Bowl level cornerback. He struggled in that game, disappeared in that game, especially in the second half. He was quiet in that game. So he's going to have to be able to step up when they play not only second and third cornerbacks, but when they put a cornerback on his side and he's basically shadowing him, that's the other team's number 1 cornerback. He's got to be able to thrive and make plays against the upper echelon number 1 top-tier cornerbacks. That's the step that I think he needs to make. But overall, 5 years, $100 million, that's a pretty good contract. Basically $20 million per year for 5 years. Good contract. The signing bonus remains to be seen, what he's actually going to be guaranteed. But just the overall length of the contract is pretty good for him, man. He's definitely making money pretty much the same as what Michael Thomas is. Michael Thomas is the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. That's the receiver for the New Orleans Saints at $20 million per year. And this contract here is basically giving Amari Cooper $20 million per year. So obviously, Amari Cooper has got the money that he wanted. Ezekiel Elliott got the money that he wanted. Now Dak Prescott is looking to get the money that he wants, and they have failed to come to agreement with the organization and Dak Prescott. So we'll see what happens and what transpires on that. But he's slated to be franchised, and Dak Prescott is slated to make $31 million in the upcoming season. And we'll see if they'll come to an agreement before the season starts. Because if they don't, I'm looking for Dak Prescott to hold out and miss the majority of the training camp in some of the preseason before he decides to come in. So right before they start getting ready to collect their checks, the NFL checks start coming in. I would look for him to probably come in right around that time. The first checks will be coming in. I think that for him to be eligible for that, he would have to come in somewhere toward the middle to late part of the preseason. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires, man. But that's what he's slated to make under the one-year franchise tag. That'd be $31 million. The Cowboys offered him a long-term deal. I think it was a 5-year deal worth $33 million per year. Dak wants more closer to what Russell Wilson is getting, who's making $35 million per year with the Seattle Supersonics. The Seattle Seahawks, which has him at the top of the food chain as the number one highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And that's what Dak Prescott wants to make. And the Cowboys said, "No, we want to pay you somewhere in the neighborhood of Carson Wentz and Jared Goff." Those two quarterbacks are making somewhere around 30 to 33 million per season, roughly. And that's where they're looking to slide Dak Prescott in that category of those two quarterbacks. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires, man. But that's the breaking news, man. Cowboys have come to agreement with the number one receiver, Amari Cooper, 5 years, $100 million. Definitely a top 10 receiver and a top 5 talent. But the thing he needs to do is, if he can do this, if he's able to do this, is he willing to do this, or maybe it's not in his DNA, but he needs to, justify being in the same income bracket as a Michael Thomas, who's a no doubt about it number one receiver who makes plays against all type of cornerbacks, number 2s, number 3s, number 1s, Pro Bowlers. He makes plays against no matter who you put out there on him. He making plays. Amari Cooper's got to be able to do that against the number 1 cornerbacks as well as the number 2 and number 3 cornerbacks. Can't just be cleaning up on the 2s and 3s, and then when you're going against the upper echelon number 1 cornerbacks, you're getting shut down and you're disappearing in games and you're taking yourself out of games, saying that you can't handle the competition, the high-level competition that you're facing during that time of the game. During that game, he can't be pulling himself out of games, which he did in the New England Patriots game, which was very, 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 very troubling to see. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. Leave your comments in the comment section if you think Cowboys did the right thing by signing him to a 5-year, $100 million contract, which makes him one of the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL, or you think they should have moved on from Amari Cooper and put that money elsewhere with other free agents. Let me know what you think in the comment section. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.